Friends, my channel name is Indian Epic History. Search this channel name on YouTube, then select playlist option for all my videos like Ramayana, Mahabharat, Puran. Otherwise, click the channel name or picture below the video, then go to the playlist. This is Bori Critical Mahabharat book, section 27, Yudhishthir Dice Game, Dyuta Parva. Uh, Chapter 43. Veshampana said, Duryodhana, bull among the Bharata lineage, lived in that Sabha and with Shakuni, that means Indraprasth Sabha. He slowly inspected that entire Sabha. Press the red subscribe option and press the bell icon for my latest video updates. There, the descendant of the Kuru lineage saw many divine designs that he had never seen before in the city of Nagasharya. One day, Dhritarashtra's son, the lord of the earth, arrived at a place in the middle of the Sabha that was paved with crystal. The king threw it to be water and in alarm raised up his clothes. His mind diluted, he wandered around the Sabha, shamefaced and miserable. After some time, he mistook a lake with crystal water, adorned with crystal lotuses, for land and fell into the water with his clothes on. On seeing him fall into the water, the servants laughed out in delight and, on the instruction of the king, gave him fresh clothes. On seeing him in that fashion, the immensely strong Bhimsena, the Arjuna, and the Nakul Sadeb all burst out in laughter. Since he was incapable of bearing insults, he could not tolerate this. To save his face, he did not even look at them. He again drew up his clothes to ascend firm land, and all the people again laughed out aloud. So, friends, there is no mention about Draupadi laugh. Okay, Draupadi didn't. This is the truth. He mistook a closed door to the open and hurt his forehead against it. On another occasion, taking an open one to be closed, he stepped away from the doorway. O Lord of the earth, he thus committed various errors there, having taken Pandava's leave. King Duryodhana set out for Gajasarya on having witnessed the extraordinary opulence at the great Rajasuya sacrifice. His mind was unhappy as he traveled. He was inflamed at the prosperity of the Pandavas, and evil thoughts were seeded in King Duryodhana's mind, O extender of the Kuru lineage. On seeing the happiness of the Parthas, the submission of the kings, the love the worlds had for them, for children onwards, the supreme splendor of the great souled Pandavas, Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana turned pale. As he traveled, he thought instantly about the Sabha and the unrivaled prosperity of the intelligent Dharmaraja. Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana was so inattentive that he did not respond when Subala's son repeatedly spoke to him. On seeing him so distracted, Shakuni responded, O Duryodhana, why are you troubling with all this sight? Duryodhana replied, O maternal uncle, I saw the entire earth brought under Yudhishthira's suzerainty, conquered with the power and weapons of the great souled one with white horses. I witnessed the sacrifice of Partha, like that of the immensely radiant Shakra among the gods. I am full of envy and am burning day and night. I am drying up like a shallow pond in the hot season. Witness when Shishupala was felled by the foremost of the Shatvatas, there wasn't a single man who stood by his side. The king were burned with the flames of the Pandavas and pardon the crime. Who can pardon that crime? Vasudeva's great deed was improper and succeeded only because of the power of the great soul Pandavas. Various kings brought many jewels and King Konteya and worshipped him like Vaishyas who pay taxes. On seeing the blazing prosperity of the Pandavas, I am afflicted with jealousy and am burning. Through I am not made that way I will throw myself into the fire or consume poison or immerse myself in water. I cannot bear to be alive. What true man in the world has the fortitude to see his rivals prosper while his own self is in decline? If today I bore the prosperity that has befallen them, I would not be a woman or one who is not a woman or a man or one who is not a man, on witnessing their lordship over the earth, the likes of their riches and the likes of their sacrifice, how can a man like me not be favorished alone? Alone I am not capable of acquiring such royal prosperity, nor do I see any help. Therefore I am thinking of death. On seeing the pure prosperity of Kunti's son, I consider destiny to be supreme and endeavor to be meaningless. O Subala, in that past I have made attempts to kill him, but he overcome all of them and prospered like a lotus in the water. Therefore, I consider destiny to be supreme and endeavor to be meaningless. The Dhritarashtra's are Disling and the Parthas are always prospering. When I see their prosperity and that beautiful Sabha and the decisive laughter of the gods, I burn as if with fire. O maternal uncle, please allow me now to suffer in misery and tell Dhritarashtra about the envy that has pervaded me. Next chapter 44. Shakuni said, O Duryodhana, you should not feel any jealousy towards Yudhishthira because the Pandavas have always benefited from their good fortune. In the past, you have tried to kill them with many means, but those tigers among men escaped because of their good fortune. They obtained Draupadi as a wife, and Drupada and his two sons as allies, and the valorous Vasudeva as an ally in winning the earth. O Lord of the earth, they obtained an unblemished share of paternal wealth and extended it through their own energy. What is there to lament in this? Having satisfied the fire, Dhananjaya obtained the great bow Gandiva, two inexhaustible quivers, and other celestial weapons. He subdued the Lord of the earth with that foremost among how and the valor of his own arms. What is there to lament in this? He freed the Danava Maya from being burned by the fire. Sabyasachi, the scourger of enemies, means Arjun, then made him build the Sabha. On Maya's command, the terrible Rakshasas named Kinkaras guard that Sabha. What is there to lament in this? O king, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, you have said that you have no allies. That is not true, because your Maratha brothers are always there to help you. The mighty archer Drona, with his intelligent son, Radheya, the son of a Suta, the Maratha Gautama, I and my brothers and the valorous Somadati are with you. With these as allies, conqueror the entire world. Duryodhana replied, O king, if you permit, I will defeat them with you and the other Maharathas. When I have conquered them, the entire earth will be mine, and all the lords of the earth and the Sabha with its great riches. Shakuni said, with the use of force, the masses of gods cannot defeat in battle Dhananjaya, Vasudeva, Bhimsena, Yudhishthir, Nakula, Sadeva, and Drupada and his son. They are Maharathas, great archers, skilled in use of weapons, and invincible in battle, O king. But I know the means through which Yudhishthira himself can be conquered. Listen and act accordingly. Duryodhana replied, O maternal uncle, if there is a way to defeat them without any danger to our well wishers and other great souled ones, please tell me. Shakuni said, Kunti's son loves to gamble with dice but does not know how to play. If challenged to play, that Indra among kings will not be able to refuse. I am skilled in gambling with dice. There is no one on earth or in the three worlds who is my equal. Challenge Kunti's son to a game of dice. O king, O bull among men, with my skill in dice, there is no doubt that I will win for you the kingdom and the blazing prosperity. O Duryodhana, tell the king all this, and if your father permits, there is no doubt that I will vanquish him. Duryodhana replied, O Sobala, if you yourself say all this to Dhritarashtra, foremost among the Kurus, in the proper way, I will not be able to do it. Next chapter 45, Bhishmapana said, O king, having experienced the great Rashtriya sacrifice of King Yudhishthira, wishing to do well to Duryodhana and having already heard Duryodhana's words about what he desired, Subala Shakuni went to Dhritarashtra with Gandhari's son. The Lord of the earth was wise, though he was without sight and was seated. Approaching the immensely intelligent one, Shakuni uttered these words, O great king, O bull among the Bharata lineage, Duryodhana is pale, yellow and thin. Notice that he is miserable and is always worrying. Why do you not examine and determine the exact seasons why your eldest son is so miserable with a grief and that can only result for an enemy? Dhritarashtra asked, O Duryodhana, O son, what is the reason for your great grief? O son of the Kuru lineage, if it is something that I can hear, please tell me. This Shakuni tells me that you are pale, yellow and thin, and that you are worrying. I do not see any reason for your grief, O son. All my great riches are given to you. Your brothers and well-wishers never act so as to cause you displeasure. You wear the best of garments, you eat food laced with meat, you ride uh, horses. Why are you then yellow and thin? Expensive beds, beautiful women, houses with all the qualities and pleasure grounds are there for your happiness. As with the gods, there is no doubt that all these await your command. O invincible one, O son, why do you then grieve like a miserable one? Duryodhana replied, like any miserable man, I do not eat and dress, but I tolerate the passing of time because I bear a terrible envy. He is truly a man who vanquishes his enemies and liberates his own subjects from the oppression of that enemy. O descendant of the birth lineage, satisfaction and pride destroy prosperity, so do compassion and fear. Immersed in this, no one achieved greatness. Having witnessed Kaunteya Yudhishthira's blazing prosperity, I no longer find pleasure, and that is what turns me pale. It is true that the prosperity of Kunti's son is invincible to me now, but I see the prosperity of my enemies and my own uh, destitution as if before me now. It is for the reason that I have become pale, miserable, yellow, and thin. Yudhishthira supports 88,000 Snataka householders, and each of them has 30 servants maidens. Beside this, 10,000 others always eat the best of food in Yudhishthira's house, served on golden plates. The king of Cambodia sends him black, dark, and red skins of the Kadali deer expensive blankets, chariots, women, and cattle, and horses in hundreds and thousands. 100 she camels roam there 300 times. O Lord of the earth, the king brought diverse riches in great numbers to that foremost of sacrifices undertaken by Kunti's son. I have never seen nor heard of such an inflow of wealth as I saw at the sacrifice of the intelligent son of Pandu. O King, O Lord, I cannot be at peace and continuously worry because I have seen that limitless flood of riches of my enemy. Batadhana Brahmanas, possessing the wealth of cattle, stood at the gate in groups of 100. They brought their kharbas of riches as tribute, but were turned back when they brought beautiful golden kamdulus and filled this with tribute. It was then that they were allowed entry. In Varuna's breastpots, the ocean brought him ambrosia that was better than the one brought for Shakra by the wives of the immortals. There were 1,000 of them, adorned with many jewels and golden. O bull among the birth lineage, on seeing all this, I felt as if afflicted with fever. They obtained these by going to the ocean of the east and the south. They had also gone to the west, but no one can go to the north except the birds. Listen to me as I describe an extraordinary incident there. Whenever 100,000 Brahmanas had been fed, it was arranged there that a single would always be given through the blowing of conch shells. O descent of the birth lineage, I continuously heard the repeated blowing of conch shells. On hearing these great sounds, my hair stood up on end. O Lord of man, many kings crowded the place as spectators. O great king, those kings brought all kinds of riches with them when they come to the sacrifice of the intelligent son of Pandu, like Vaishyas, the Lord of the earth, become servers to the Brahmanas. O king, the king of the gods, Yama, Varuna, or the lord of the Guhakas does not possess riches equal to Yudhishthira's wealth. Ever since I have witnessed the overwhelming prosperity of Pandu's son, my heart has been burning and I can find no peace. Shakuni said, "O you who valor in is in truth, listen to the means whereby you can obtain the unmatched prosperity that you have seen with the Pandava or descent of the birth lineage. I am skilled in playing with dice. Supreme on earth, I know their heart. I know how to stake. I know the special art through Konteya loves dice. He has no knowledge of dice. He challenged. If challenged, he will certainly come. I will challenge him. Besampana said, having been thus addressed by Shakuni, King Duryodhana then instantly addressed these words to Dhritarashtra. O king, the one is skilled in dice. Through dice, he will win the wealth of Pandu's son. Please grant him permission. Dhritarashtra replied, I always follow the counsel of my immensely wise advisor, Shata. I will consult with him and then decide on the course of action. He placed Dharma in the forefront, that foresight, and has our supreme welfare in mind. He will took the both sides and tell us certainly what should be done. Duryodhana said, if you ask Shata, he will restrain you, O Indra among kings, and if you are restrained, I will certainly kill myself. O king, when I am dead, may you find happiness with Vidura, enjoy the whole earth. What do you have to do with me? Dhritarashtra heard those painful words, though they were affectionately uttered, submitting to Duryodhana's desire, he instructed his servants, let artisans immediately build for me a beautiful and large sabha with 1,000 pillars and 100 doors, which is fit to be seen when it is scattered with gems and dice everywhere. Quietly come and report to me that it has been built well and that it is fit to be entered, O great king. In an attempt to pacify Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, lord of the earth, summoned Vidura because he never took a decision without asking Vidura. Knowing the evils of gambling, he was still attracted towards it because of affection towards his son. Having heard this, the intelligent Vidura knew that the door to Kali was night. On seeing that the path to destruction was about to be opened, he quickly come to Dhritarashtra. The brother come to the great soul elder brother and bowing down, with his head touching the other's feet, uttered these words, O king, O lord, I do not approve of the decision you have taken. You should act in such a way that discord does not arise among your sons because of this gambling. Dhritarashtra replied, O Kshata, if the gods in heaven show us their favor, there is no doubt that there will be no quarrel between my sons and my other sons. Auspicious or not auspicious, winning or milling, let this gambling match between relatives occur as it is certainly destined. When I and Bhishma bull among the Bharata lineage, are there no evil can possibly occur, even if fate has decreed it. Immediately ascend a chariot that is yoked with steeds with the speed of the wind. Go to Khandaprastha and bring Yudhishthira. O Vidura, I tell you that there will be no going back on my decision. I think it is supreme destiny that has led to this. Having heard this, the intelligent Vidura thought that this should not be. Extremely unhappy, he went to the immensely wise son of the river. Next chapter, Janmejaya said, how did that eventful gambling match among the brothers take place, which caused so much misery to my grandfathers, the Pandavas? O you who are immersed in the Brahman, who were the kings who were present in that Sabha, who among them approved of the match and who did not, O Brahmana, O supreme among Brahmanas, I wish to hear all this in details because this was the cause of the destruction of the world. The Sutta said, having been thus addressed by the king, Vyasa's powerful student, knowledgeable in all the Vedas, recounted anything as it had happened. Vesampayana said, O supreme among the Bharata lineage, O great king, if you wish to hear it, then listen, I will tell you in detail what happened. Knowing Vidura's views, Dhritarashtra, the son of Ambika, again privately spoke these words to Duryodhana. O Gandhari's son, forget the dice. Vidura does not approve of it. The immensely intelligent one will not speak in vain. I think what Vidura has said is for my supreme welfare, O son, act accordingly, for I think that it will be for your welfare too. Vidura knows all the sacred texts with their mysteries that the illustrious and wise Devrishi Brihaspati, spectator of Vashava, thought to the intelligent king of the gods, O son, I always follow his counsel, O king. The intelligent Vidura is considered as foremost among the Kurus, like the immensely wise Uddhava is acclaimed among the Vrishnis, O son. Deception brings destruction to the kingdom. So give up the idea you have obtained that the supreme texts say are what a son should obtain from his father and mother. O son, you have obtained the rank of your father and grandfather. You have studied, you have become learned in the sacred text, you have always been reared at home. You are the eldest among your brothers, and you have been established in the kingdom. Do you not consider this fortunate? You obtained the best of food and garments, unobtainable by other men. O mighty armed one, O son, having obtained this, why do you grieve? O mighty armed one, this great kingdom of your father and grandfather is prospering. When you rule it, you shine like the Lord of the gods in heaven. I know you to be wise. Then, what is the reason of this grief? Why is your misery swelling up? Tell me. Duryodhana replied, I am an evil man, that I eat and dress despite what I see. It has been said that a man who does not feel envy in a rich, O Indra among kings, O Lord, this ordinary prosperity does not please me. I am miserable on seeing the blazing prosperity of Kunti's son. The entire earth is subject to Yudhishthira's sovereignty. I am telling you that I am miserable since I am still established here alive. The Chetrakis and Kokuras and Karakshatras and the Lohajangas live in Yudhishthira's abode like prostrate slaves. The Himalayas, the oceans, the regions along the shores that produce all the gems and all others are inferior to Yudhishthira's abode. O Lord of the earth, since I was the eldest and foremost, Yudhishthira offered me homage and appointed me to the task of receiving the gems, O descendant of the birth lineage, of the riches that were brought there, supreme and invaluable. One could not see the near end, nor the far one. My hands were too tired to receive all those riches when those who had brought riches from descended places had left. I was still tired, having brought gems from Bindu Sarovar. Maya constructed a platform of crystal or descended of the birth lineage. On seeing the place full of lotuses, I took it to be water. On seeing me draw up my clothes, Brikodara laughed at me. He threw me to be devoid of riches and deluded by the superior wealth of the enemy or descendant of the birth lineage. Had I possessed the ability, I would have killed Bikrodara there. The derision of a rival burns me. O Lord of men, I again saw a similar pond full of lotuses, thinking it to be made out of crystal. If I fell into the water, at this Krishna and Partha laughed out loudly at me. Krishna means Vasudeva, Partha means Arjuna, and so did Draupadi and the other woman. Duryodhana is lying. Draupadi was not there in the Sabha. This pained my heart, my garments having become wet. The servants gave me others on the king's orders, and these too made me more miserable. O Lord of men, listen when I tell you about another trick. In trying to go out through what looked like a door but wasn't a door, I hit my head against a crystal slab and got hurt. Then, on seeing this from a distance, the twins Nakul Sahadeva were amazed. In great sorrow, they held me in their arms. Sahadeva then repeatedly told me, as if amazed, O king, this is the door, pass him away. I saw jewels there whose names I had not even heard of earlier. That is the reason why my heart is burning. Next chapter 47, Duryodhana said, O descendant of the birth lineage, listen to the main treasures I saw at the Pandavas, brought by the lords of the earth from everywhere, or descendants of the birthday lineage. On seeing those riches, ground and minded, I no longer feel myself to be conscious. Cambodia gave riches in the form of skins of either fine cat skins lined with gold, the best skins from deer, 300 horses with parrot like noses that were grey and of mixed colors, and 300 she camels fattened with palm, pulses and nuts. All the Govasana and Dashamiya Brahmanas come to please the immensely fortunate and great soul Dharmaraja. They brought their Kauravas of tribute, but were bade entry the stood at the gate. When they brought beautiful and golden water pots and offered their tribute in those, they were allowed entry, O great king, as tribute the Shudra kings who lived in Barukacha brought on 100,000 slave girls from the Karpashika region. They were dark and slender, with long hair and adorned in golden ornaments. They also brought Ranku hides fit for the best of Brahmanas and horses from the Gandhara region. The men whose crops depend on the showers of Indra, those who are born near the mouths of rivers, along the shores and banks of oceans and rivers, the Bairamas, the Paradas, the Bangas, and the Kitavas, brought many riches and many jewels, goats, cattle, gold, donkeys, camels, honey, and fruit, and different types of garments, but restrained they stood at the door. Maratha King Bhagadatta, the brave ruler of Parjotisa and the strong ruler of the Mlechas, come with Yavanas, he brought a tribute of thoroughbred horses as swift as the wind, but was bred and stood at the gate. After presenting a receptacle that was like iron and swords with handles of ivory, Bhagdatta of Parjyotisha left. I saw that many people of different directions were refused admission at the gate. Through they brought a rich tribute of gold and silver, with 2 eyes, 3 eyes, 1 eye on the forehead, those who wore headdresses, those who had no fixed abode, Bahukas, cannibals, and those with only one food. They brought horses that were as swift as thoughts, with the colors of Indragopas and parrots, or with the colors of the rainbow, or red like the evening sky. They were of many shades, and there were also saged forest horses with the speed of the mind. They also gave him rich tributes of the best quality of gold. There were Chinas, Hunas, Shakas, Odras, those who live inside mountains, Varshanias, Harahunas, dark ones, and those who live in the Himalayas. I do not remember the order of those who were bade entry at the gate. They gave much tribute in many forms. They were tens of thousands of ashes, giant in form and with black necks. They were famous everywhere and trained well, capable of killing hundreds. There were large and colorful garments pleasant to the touch. From Balika and China, there was wool, ranku hides, silk, jute cotton, and thousands of other garments. They had the color of lotuses and were soft, though not made of cotton. There were hides, there were long and sharp swords, double edged swords, spears, battle axes, and a 100 battle axes from the other side of the ocean. They brought juices, fragrances, and many jewels in thousands, but despite the tribute, they were barred entry and stood at the gate. Shakas, uh, Tukharas, Kankas, Romashas, and men with horns brought as tribute on 100 millions horses that could travel great and long distances. With crores of tribute of many kinds of unlimited gold, they stood at the door and were barred entry, expensive seats, vehicles, beds, and many kinds of chariots adorned with gems and gold, made of ivory and decorated with gold, well trained horses covered with tiger skins, many kinds of cushions, thousands of gems, narachas, harp narachas, many kinds of weapons. This was the great tribute paid by the king from the east. When he entered the great soul Pandava sacrificial arena, Duryodhana said, O unblemished one, listen to me as I describe the large and varied tribute full of riches given by the kings for the sake of the sacrifice. The kings who live along the banks of the river Shaloda between Mounts Meru and Mandara and enjoy the pleasurable shade of bamboo, the Kashas, Ekshanas, Johas, Pardaras, Dingavinas, Pashupas, Kunindas, Tanganas, and Paratanganas brought large masses of Pipilica gold in vessels gathered by ants. The strong residents of the mountains brought as tribute dark and colored tails of yaks and other that were as white as moonbeams, a lot of sweet honey from the flowers of the Himalayas, garlands and water from the northern Kuru region, and immensely powerful herbs from northern Kailasha. They bowed and stood at the gate of King Ajatashatru, but were denied entry, O Lord of the earth. There were kings from the other side of the Himalayas, from the mountains where the sun rises, from the banks of Varishena and Lohitya, from the banks of the ocean, and Kiratas who live on roots and fruit and wear skins. They brought large masses of sandal and aloe wood, Kalia skins, jewels, gold, fragrances, 10,000 Kirata slave girls, beautiful animals and birds from distant region, and copious quantities of radiant gold from the mountains. But despite all these tribute, they were refused entry and waited at the gate. O Lord of the earth, Kayavyas, Daradas, Kurashas, Pondras, Bangas, Angas, Gayas, all illustrious Kshatriyas with weapons in their hands brought hundreds of tribute for Ajatasattu Yudhishthir. The chiefs from Banga and Kalinga from Tamralipat Pondraka brought garments and silk from the Kaushiki. On the instructions of the king, the gatekeepers told them, if you bring large and great tribute, only then will you be admitted. So they each gave 1,000 elephants with tusks like the sharps of plugs, caparisoned in gold and covered in cushions with the color of lotuses. They were as large as mountains, always in rut, and come from the shores of Kamyaka Lake. They were covered in armor, patined and trained well. They then entered the gate. These and many other masses come from all the directions. There were other great souled ones who offered many gems. The Gandharva King Chitraratha, Vasudeva's friend, gave 400 horses with the speed of the wind. The Gandharva Tumburu happily gave 100 horses that had the color of mango leaves with gold harnesses. O Kauravya, O Lord of the Earth, the famous king of the Shukaras gave many hundreds of valuable elephants. As tribute, Virata from Matsya gave 2,000 rutting elephants caparisoned in gold. O king, King Vashudhana from the kingdom of Pamshu gave 26 elephants and the 1,000 horses, all harnesses in gold. O Lord of men, they had great speed and strength and were of the right age. He offered these and many other riches to Pandava, O Lord of the Earth. Yagyasena Drupada gave Pritha's son 14,000 servant girls, 10,000 male servants with their wives, and 26 chariots pulled by elephants. He offered his entire kingdom for the sacrifice. The Simhalas offered the best jewels found in the ocean, lapis lazuli, pearls, and conch shells, and hundreds of covers for housing elephants. Many dark complexioned men, eyes copper red, and attired in garments adorned with gems, brought tribute and waited at the gate, having been refused entry. Brahmanas brought gifts out of affection, Kshatriyas because they had been defeated, and Vaishyas and Sudras out of servitude. Out of affection and respect, they waited on Yudhishthira. All the Smritchas and all the Varnas, the superior, the middle, and the inferior, arriving from many countries and many races, or descended of the Bharata lineage, in Yudhishthira's abode, I saw the kings make such large and great offerings to my enemy that I wish to die from grief. Now tell me tell you about the servants of the Pandavas to whom Yudhishthira supplies both raw and cooked food. There are 300,000 soldiers mounted on elephants. There are 100 million chariots and innumerable foot soldiers. The raw food is measured out in one place, cooked elsewhere, and distributed at another place. Auspicious sounds are heard among all the Varnas. I have not seen a single one in Yudhishthira's abode who has not obtained food, is unhappy, and has not been rewarded well. 88,000 Snatakas live a householder's life, each supported by 30 servant girls provided by Yudhishthira. They are happy and satisfied and always pray for the destruction of his enemies. In Yudhishthira's abode, 10,000 ascetics who have controlled their seed eat from golden plates. O Lord of the Earth, Yagyaseni does not eat until she has seen to it that everyone has eaten and is full, even hunchbacks and dwarfs or descendants of the Bharata lineage. There are only two who have not paid tribute to Kunti's son, the Panchalas, because of the marriage alliance, and the Andhakas and the Vishnis because of friendship. Duryodhana said the Arya kings are devoted to truth and great in their vows, complete in their knowledge, eloquent and immersed in Vedanta, forbearing, modest, famous, and with dharma in their hearts. Those kings who have been anointed wait on him. There I saw many thousands of wild cows that had been brought by the kings as dakshina with brass pot for milking or descent of the Bharata lineage as a mark of respect and of their own volition. The kings brought supreme vessel for the consecration there. Balika brought the chariot that was inlaid with gold. Sudakshina yoked it with white horses from Cambodia in affection, the immensely strong. Sunita fixed the axle. Willingly, the king of Chedi himself fixed the flagstaff. The king from the south had the armor ready, Magadha, the garland and the headdress. The great archer Vashudhana held the king of elephants, 60 years old. Matsya fixed the sides. Eklavya held the footwear. Avanti had the many kinds of water required for the final bath. Chekitana gave the quiver. The king of Kashi the bow and Shalya the sword with a golden hilt and with traps inlaid with gold. Dhaumya and the immensely ascetic Vyasa performed the anointing after having placed Narada and the sage Devala Asita at the forefront. The Maharishis attained the Ambisheka with pleasure, just as the Shaptarishis approached the great Indra, lord of the gods, in heaven. With Jamadagni's son, the great soul ones learned in the Vedas and the mantras come with large quantities of gifts. Satyaki, the truth as his valor, held up the umbrella. Dhananjaya and Bhima fainted Pandava. Varuna's conch shell had been constructed with Vishwakarma in ancient times with 1,000 pieces of gold and had been given by Prajapati to Indra in that ancient era. That ocean now brought it for him, and Krishna anointed him with that. At this I felt benumbed. They went to the western, eastern, and southern oceans, O father, but they did not go to the north, which is for the birds. To make it auspicious, hundreds of conch shells were blown, and when they were blown together, my hair stood up at the roar. Kings were deprived of their own energy and fell prostrate on the ground. But Dishtidumya, the Pandavas, Satyaki, and Krishna, as the eight, were glorious and kindly disposed towards each other. They maintained themselves, and on seeing me and the kings unconscious on the ground, laughed at us, O descendant of the Bharata lineage. Then delightedly Vibhutsu gave the principal Brahmanas 500 bullocks, their horns plated with gold, like Lord Harishchandra. Kaunteya accomplished the Rashtriya, and his prosperity was supreme. Shambhara's slayer, Yavanashva, Manu, King Prithu, and Bhagiratha could not rebel this. O Lord, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, having witnessed Partha's prosperity like that of Harishchandra, now should I see any good in remaining alive. O Lord of men, a yoke attached by a blind man becomes loose. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, the younger ones are prospering while the elder ones are decaying. O supreme among the Kurus, having witnessed all this, I find no refuge whichever way I look. That is the reason I am becoming thin. That is the reason I am pale and miserable. Dhritarashtra said, O son, you are the eldest and the son of the eldest wife. Do not hear hatred towards the Pandavas. He who bear hatred in always as unhappy as the death. O bull among the Bharata lineage, Yudhishthira is inexperienced. He is your equal in goals and in friends. He does not hate you. Why do you hate him, O king, O son? You are his equal in birth and valor. Why do you covet your brother's riches? Do not desire out of delusion. Be calm and virtuous, O bull among the Bharata lineage. If you wish to accomplish the glory of sacrifice, Let the priests arrange for the great sacrifice known as Shaptatantu. The kings will bring you great riches, gems, and ornaments from affection and respect. O son, the terrible act of desiring another's prosperity bring misery. He who is satisfied with his own remains anchored in his own dharma and is happy. The signs of wealth are lack of concern for another's prosperity, constant perseverance in one's own task, and the protection of what one has obtained. The man who is unmoved in calamities and always skilled the engaged in his own vigilant and humble will always witness good fortune. O bull among the Bhartal lineage, give at sacrifices, enjoy the pleasures you desire. Sport in the company of women and be at peace. Duryodhana replied, You know, but you confuse me like a boat tied to another boat. Are you not attentive to your own interest? Do you have hostile feelings towards me? Dhritarashtra's son follow your command and I don't rule them. You always say that everything must be done for the sake of the fortune. If the leader has lost the path because he has been deluded by the enemy, how can these followers follow the path? O king, you are old in your wisdom, you follow the elders, and you have control over your senses. You should not confuse us when we are engaged in our own tasks. Brihaspati has said that the royal path must be different from that followed by the world's. Therefore, a king must always be valiant in protecting his own self interest. O great king, a Kshatriya's path is one devoted to victory. O bull among the Bharata lineage, as long as one follows one's creed, dharma, and lack of dharma are irrelevant. O bull among the Bharata lineage, a charioteer uses his whip to drive out in all the directions, wishing to attack the blazing fortunates of his enemy. Those who are skilled in weapons say that the weapon isn't only the one that cuts. A weapon is that which vanquishes the enemy, be it open or hidden. O king, discontent is the root of prosperity. That is the reason I wish to be discontented. The Supreme One is one who strives for prosperity. In attaining prosperity and riches, shouldn't self interest be our way? Others take away what was been obtained before. That is known as the Dharma of kings. It was during a period of trust that Shakra cut off Namuchi's head because he knew that enmity towards a foe is eternal. Like a snake shallows rats, the earth shallows up too. The king who does not strive and the Brahmana who does not leave a home, O Lord of the earth, no one is by nature and another man's enemy. The enemy is that one whose pursuits are the same as one's own and not anyone else. He who stupidly watches the ascendants of the enemy's party leaves a disease unattended and cuts off his own roots. An enemy may be insignificant, but if he is always allowed to grow in valor, he will destroy one. The way an anthill destroys the roots of a tree it has grown on. O Ajaminda, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, do not be pleased at the enemy's prosperity. The wise ones should not bear the burden of this policy on their heads. A person who wishes for an increase in this prosperity the way he has himself grown since birth, grows and prospers with his relatives. Valor brings swift growth. as long as do not obtain the wealth of the Pandavas, I will always be in doubt. I will either obtain those riches or lay down my life in the field of battle, O Lord of the earth. If I cannot equal him, what is the point of being alive today? The Pandavas are always prospering and we are stagnating. Shakuni said, challenge the enemy to a glance of dice. I will rob Pandu's son Yudhishthira of the prosperity that you have seen, which has been burning you. Be clear that I will not fight in front of enemies through the throw of dice. A skillful one can vanquish one that is not skillful. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, know that the bow and arrows are my dice. The heart of the dice is a string of my bow. Know that the carpet is my chariot. Duryodhana said, O king, this one who is skilled in dice is ready to win over the prosperity of Pandu's son which dies. O father, you should find that pleasing. Dhritarashtra replied, I always listen to the counsel of my brother, the great soul Vidura. I will decide on the course of action after meeting with him. Duryodhana said, O Kaurava, there is no doubt that Vidura will make you refrain from the resolution. He is engaged in the welfare of the Pandavas and not mine. O descendant of Kuru lineage, no man should engage in his task with another's counsel, because two minds seldom agree on a course of action. Like a straw made during the rainy season, a fool that abhors fear stands and destroys himself. Neither disease nor Yama wait for prosperity to come. Therefore, let us act for the good while there is time. Dhritarashtra replied, O son, I never like a fight with those who are stronger. Enmity creates a distortion, and that itself is a weapon. Through it is not made of iron. O prince, you think that disease will bring welfare. This terrible collection of quarrels, once it starts in one way or another, it will release bows, swords, and arrows. Duryodhana said the ancient ones created the rules of dice. It leads to neither evil nor blows. Today you should approve of Shakuni's words. Let your instruction be issued for the swift construction of a sabha. Because the doors of heaven will become closer, it is appropriate for us to be engaged in this. Approve of this act with the Pandavas, and we will then stand equal to them. Dhritarashtra replied, O Indra man, I do not like the words that you utter, but do what brings you pleasure. Later you will remember your words and suffer, because such words cannot bring prosperity to those who abide by dharma. As long time in the past, Vidura, who follows wisdom and learning, had foretold of this, the great calamity that will destroy the seed of the Kshatriyas has now arrived, and we are powerless. Vishnupada said, having uttered these words, the wise Dhritarashtra decided that destiny alone was supreme. Fate robbed the king of his senses, and he instructed his man to obey his son's words. Carefully build on 1,000 pillars adorned with gold and lapis lazuli. Let there be 100 gates with arches made of crystal. Let the beautiful Sabha be swiftly built, one krusa long and one krusa wide. On hearing these words, without hesitation, thousands of wise and skilled artisans swiftly built the Sabha and stocked it with every kind of object. Then, in a short space of time, they informed the king that the beautiful assembly hall was ready, and that it had been adorned with multicolored gems and beautiful golden seats. Then Dhritarashtra, lord of men, spoke to the learned Vidura, foremost among the advisors, go to Prince Yudhishthira and swiftly bring him here at my command. Say that he and his brothers should come here and see this beautiful sabha that I have built, with many gems and decorated with expensive beds and seats. We will then have a game of dice among well-wishers, knowing his son's mind, and that fate could not be avoided. King Dhritarashtra, Lord of Men, acted thus. Vidura, supreme among learned ones, did not approve of his brother's words, and through them to be unjust, he spoke to him, O king, I do not approve of this errand. Do not do this. I fear the destruction of our lineage, O Indra among men, when the sons are disunited. A quarrel is certain, and I have concerned about this game of dice. Dhritarashtra replied, O Shata, unless destiny turns adverse, I am not worried about a quarrel. The universe is under the control of the Creator. The entire world does not run independently. O Vidura, therefore, today go to the king at my command and quickly bring Kunti's invincible son Yudhishthira here. Next chapter 52. Vasampayana said on King Dhritarashtra's forceful command, Vidura started off towards the wise Pandavas on horses that were noble and strong, trained well and possessing great speed. He proceeded swiftly and came to the king's city, and after being worshipped by the Brahmanas, the immensely intelligent one entered. The palace was like Kubera's abode, and the one with Dharma in his heart went to Dharmaputra Yudhishthira, Ajasatru, the great soul king, who was always devoted to the earth, welcomed Vidura with due homage and worship, and then asked about the welfare of Dhritarashtra and his sons. Yudhishthira asked, O Shata, I do not see your mind to be happy. I hope everything is well. Are the sons obedient to their elders? Are the uh, commoners obedient to his rule? Vidura replied, O great soul king, is well with his sons, surrounded by his kin. He rules like Indra, O king, surrounded by his sons who are obedient. He is content. He is without worries and is firm in the desires of his own heart. The king of the Kurus has first asked me to inquire about your health and welfare, and then say, I have built a Shabbat that matches yours. O son, please come with your brothers and sit, O Partha, assemble there with your brother and have a game of dice with your well wishers. You will be delighted at your arrival, and so will all the Kurus who are assembled there. The great souled King Dasharatha has assembled gamblers there. You will see the rogues assembled there. I have come here for this, O king. Agree. Yudhishthira said, O Shata, gambling can produce quarrels. Knowing this, which intelligent one will consent to gambling? What do you think is the right course of action for us? We are always obedient to your words, Vidura replied. I know that gambling is the root of all misery. I made every effort to restrain him. However, the king has sent me to you, O wise one. Knowing this, do what is best. Yudhishthira asked, other than the sons of King Dhritarashtra, who are the other Rojas, who are they to reply, O Vidura? Who are there to reply, O Vidura? I am asking. You tell me, who are the hundreds with whom one will have to play? Vidura replied, O Lord of the earth, there is Shakuni, king of Gandhara. That king in age to play has a skilled hand and knows the nature of the dice. There are Bhimshati, King Chitrasena, Satyavrata, Purumitra and Jaya. Yudhishthira said, it said that Some of the most feared rogues have assembled there. They are sure to play with the powers of Maya. However, everything is under the control of the Creator. I will not refuse to play with those rogues, O Vidura. I do not wish to go and gamble on King Dhritarashtra's command. A father always has a son's welfare in mind. Therefore, tell me what I should do. I have to desire to gamble with Shakuni, but if the confident one challenges me in the Sabha, I will never refuse because that has been my eternal vow, Vishampayana said. Having thus spoken to Vidura, Dharmaraja instructed that all the arrangements for the journey should quickly be made. Next day, he set out with his army and his attendants, and with the honored Draupadi and other women of the household. Destiny robs us of reason, like a glare falling before the eye, as if tied in a nose. Man follows the will of the Creator. Uttering these words, King Yudhishthira set out of Shata. Partha, the destroyer of enemies, could not ignore the summons. He ascended the chariot given by Balika. Partha Pandava, the destroyer of enemies, dressed in royal garments, left with his brothers. Brahmana walked ahead of him, and his regal prosperity blazed. He was summoned by Dhritarashtra in accordance with what has been decreed by destiny. Arriving in Hastinapura, he went to Dhritarashtra's palace. Pandava, the one with dharma in his heart, met Dhritarashtra and Drona, Bhishma, Karna, and Kripa. As is proper, the Lord also met Drona's son Ashwathama, the mighty armed one. Then met Somadatta, Duryodhana, Shalya, the valorous Sovala, and all the other kings who was assembled there before him, and Jayadratha and all the other Kurus surrounded by his brothers, the mighty armed one. Then entered the abode of the immensely wise King Dhritarashtra and met their queen Gandhari, who was always devoted to her husband. She was surrounded by her daughter-in-law like Rohini by the stars. After showing homage to Gandhari and being welcomed by her in return, he saw his aged father, the wise lord whose eyesight was his knowledge, O king. The king inhaled the fragrances of the heads of the descendants of the Kuru lineage and of the four Pandavas led by Bhimsena. O Lord of the earth, on seeing that the handsome Pandavas, tigers among men, all the Kauravas were extremely delighted. Taking their leave, the Pandavas entered their houses. Full of jewels, the women come to see them, Draupadi at their forefront. On witnessing Yagyasena's blazing prosperity, Dhritarashtra's daughters-in-law were not enthused. After having conversed with the woman, the tiger women went out. They performed physical exercise and the due rituals. After the daily rituals was over, they covered themselves all over with divine sandalwood. With their minds were pure, the Brahmanas pronounced benedictions on them. Having eaten the best of food, they retired to their sleeping quarters. Women sung to them, and the descendants of the Kurus went to sleep. They spent the pleasant night in sexual pursuits. After resting for some time, they discarded their sleep to the sound of praises of birds. Having happily slept during the night, they performed all the daily rites in the morning and entered the beautiful Sabha crowded by rogues. Shakuni said, O king, the carpet has been spread out in the Sabha, and those people have found the time, O Yudhishthira, the time for gambling and fixing the nature of the dice has come. Yudhishthira replied, O king, Dishonest gambling is evil. There is no Kshatriya valor in that, nor is there any good policy in it. Why do you then praise playing with dice, O Shakuni? The learned do not praise diceful gambling like a cruel person. Do not defeat us through a crooked path. Shakuni said, he who knows the numbers and is knowledgeable about deception is tireless in the art of gambling and extremely intelligent in gambling is the one who knows all the techniques through handling the dice. One can defeat the enemy. Blaming destiny is pointless. O king, let us gamble and have no anxiety. Let us immediately decide on the stakes and not tarry. Yudhishthira replied, Ashita, Devala are supreme among sages and always frequented the door of the worlds. They have said that it is a sin to play with deceitful gamblers. It is best to win a battle through dharma, in which case gambling is sanctioned. Aryas do not use mlecha language nor use deceit in behavior. Men who are truthful in their vows do not use trickery in a battle. We have always shouted to protect deserving Brahmanas with our strength. O Shakuni, do not play beyond those limits and do not win in express. I do not desire happiness and riches through deceit, but even if a gambler plays without deceit, gambling is never praised. Shakuni said, O Yudhishthira, the learned trumps over non-learned only through trickery. That is how the wise trumps over the stupid. But people don't call it trickery in approaching me for the game. If you think that I will resort to trickery, if that is your fear, then refrain from the game. Yudhishthira replied, O king, once challenged, I will not withdraw. That is the vow I have taken. Faith is the powerful one, and we are in the power of destiny. Who is this assembly will I play with? What is that counter stake? Let the gambling begin. Duryodhana said, O Lord of the earth, I will stake all my jewels and my riches, my maternal uncle Shakuni, with gamble on my behalf. Yudhishthira replied to me, it seems unfair that one man should gamble in another place. O learned one, you know this, however, if that is what you want, so be it. Vaishampana said, when arrangement had been made for the gambling, all the kings with Dhritarashtra at the forefront entered the Sabha. Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, the immensely intelligent Vidura, or descendant of the Bharata lineage, others also followed, not at all pleased in their minds. Those immensely energetic ones with necks like those of lions sat separately and together on many colorful seats. O king, with the assembled kings, that Sabha was radiant like resplendent heaven when the gods have assembled. O great king, they were all brave warriors learned in the Vedas, and their forms were like that of the sun. Then the gambling between the well-wishers started. Yudhishthira said, O king, this is a beautiful chain of gems inlaid in supreme gold. It represents a lot of riches and has been procured from the will of the ocean. O king, this is my stake. What is your counter stake? Let it be placed in the copper order, and I will win this gamble. Duryodhana replied, I also possess many gems and riches, but they serve no particular end for me. I will win this gamble. Vaishampana said, then Shakuni, who knew the heart of the dice, grabs the dice, and Shakuni told Yudhishthira, I have won. Next chapter 54, Yudhishthira said, Shakuni, O Shakuni, you have won this gamble from me by using deceit. Let us now grasp the dice and play 1,000 times. I have 100 leaden jars, each filled with 1,000 gold coins, O king. That apart my treasury has exhaustible gold and much gold. Those are the riches I now stake to gamble with you. Vishnupada said. As soon as he had spoken, Shakuni told the king, I have won. Yudhishthira said, my royal chariot is covered with tiger skin and is worth 1,000. It is finely built, beautiful, makes a thunderous noise, and is adorned with nets of bells. It gilded the heart of Brautas here. This sacred chariot, supreme among all chariots, roared like the clouds and the ocean. It is drawn by 8 horses and are famous throughout the kingdom. They are noble and have the color of ospreys. No one who walks the earth on escape their hooves, O king. These are my riches that I now gamble with you for. Bisambana said, having heard this, Shakuni used deceit and told Yudhishthira, I have won. Yudhishthira said, O Sobala, I have 1,000 elephants and are in mast. They have golden guardless and are hung with golden garlands. They are spotted. They are well trained with fine tusks and are capable of bearing kings. They can withstand every kind of noise in battle. They have giant tusks like swaps, and each bull has with it 8 elephants. All of these elephants have the shade of new clouds and are capable of battering down enemy cities. O king, these are my riches, and I now gamble with you for. Vishnupada said, having heard these words, Subala laughed at Partha. Shakuni told Yudhishthira, I have won. Yudhishthira said, I have 100,000 slave girls. They are young and extremely beautiful. They wear bracelets and armlets, necklaces of gold coins, and wear ornaments. They wear expensive garlands and ornaments, beautiful garments, and are anointed with sandalwood paste. They wear jewels and gold, and all of them are dressed in sheer garments. They are skilled in singing and dancing. On my instructions, they wait upon a serve the Sanatakas, advisors, and kings. O king, these are my riches that I now gamble with you for. Vishnupada said, having heard these words, Shakuni resorted to deceit and told Yudhishthira, I have won. Yudhishthira said, I have thousands of male slaves. They are always dressed in fine garments and are skilled and ready to serve. They are wise, young, skilled, and intelligent, and wear polished earrings with plates in their hands. They feed the guests day and night. O king, these are my riches, and I now gamble with you for. Vishnupada said, having heard these words, Shakuni restored to deceit and told Yudhishthira, I have won. Yudhishthira said, I have as many chariots. They have pennants and are equipped with golden vessels. There are also well trained horses, charioteers, and wonderful warriors, regardless of whether they fight or do not fight. Each of them receives 1,000 as monthly salary. O king, these are my riches that I now gamble with you for. Vishnupada said, having heard these words of Partha, the evil one, restored to disease, Shakuni told Yudhishthira, I have won. Yudhishthira said, I have Gandharva horses that are spotted and have the color of Partigas. They have golden harness and were happily given by Chitraratha to Gandhibadhanva. O king, these are my riches that I now gamble with you for. Vaishnapada said, having heard this, Shakuni restored to deceit and told Yudhishthira, I have won. Yudhishthira said, I have 10,000 chariots, carts, and horses. They are yoked to the best drought animals. I have thousands of soldiers from each Varna. They drink milk and feed on rice and grain. There are 60,000 of them, and all of them have broad chests. O king, these are my riches that I now gamble with you for. Vaishnampana said. On hearing these words, Shakuni restored to the seat and told Yudhishthira, I have won. Yudhishthira said, I have 400 treasure chests made of copper and iron. Each of them has 5 receptacles filled with beaten gold. O king, these are my riches that I now gamble with you for. Vaishnampana said. On hearing these words, Shakuni restored to the seat and told Yudhishthira, I have won. Next chapter 55, Vidura said, O great king, listen to what I am going to tell you and learn. Even through a dying man finds no pleasure in medicine. In earlier times, when the evil-minded Duryodhana, the destroyer of the Bharata lineage, was born, he cried out in a voice of jackal, he is destined to cause our destruction. A jackal lives in your house in Duryodhana's form, and you do not know this. From me, listen to what Kavya said. The collector of honey obtained the honey, but does not know about the fall. Having climbed, he will later be immersed or fall down and perish. Like the collector of honey, he is drunk at the prospect of gambling with dice. He does not know of the fall. Consequent to the enmity with these Maharathas, O great king, you know the normal royal practice. The Andhakas, Yadavas, and the Bhojas assembled and abandoned Kamsha. At their request, Krishna, the slayer of enemies, killed him, and all the relatives rejoiced of 100 years. On your instructions, let Sabyasachi oppress Suyodhana, let the Kurus be happy through the oppression of the evil one, O king. Purchase peacocks for this crow, purchase tigers from this jackal, purchase the Pandavas, and do not sink into this ocean of grief. For the sake of a family, a man should be sacrificed. For the sake of a village, for the sake of a family, a man should sacrifice. For the sake of a village, a family should be sacrificed. For the sake of a country, a village should be sacrificed. For the sake of a soul, the earth should be sacrificed. Thus spoke Kavya, the omniscient one, knowledgeable in all sentiments and terrible to all enemies, when he asked the great Asuras to abandon Jamba, O king. It is said that there were forest dwelling birds that vomited gold. A man took them to live in his house, but then killed them out of greed, O scourger of enemies. He was blinded because of this temptation for gold. Because of his greed, he destroyed both what he had and what he could have had. O bull among the Bharatas, do not oppress the Pandavas. Because of your immediate desire, you will later rue your delusion like that man who killed the birds, or descendant of the Bharata lineage like a maker of garlands. Take followers affectionately from the Pandavas one by one as they flower. Like a maker of charcoal, do not burn down the roots of the tree. Do not go to your destruction with your sons, advisors, and troops, O descendant of the Bharata lineage. Who is capable of fighting with the Parthas when they stand together, O king? Do not even the lord of the Maruts together with the Maruts.